Disclaimer: I am not an attorney, and this content is not legal advice. The information presented reflects my personal experiences and approaches to situations encountered during audits conducted in the state of Florida. I may not always be correct. For legal advice, please consult a licensed attorney.
All started in a quiet lobby where questions turned into tension. That night, the truth began to unravel, one frame at a time. The next day, the stakes got higher, but he stood his ground. Soon, his courage sparked a movement, and others joined the fight. Even when they tried to stop him, he found a way to keep going. In the end, his persistence proved that change is always possible.
All right, so my name is Aaron. This is Cripple Audits. Thank you for dropping by. And I'm going to be talking about the First District Court of Appeals ruling in the McDaniels v. Florida case that was handed down on September the 10th. Um, but before I get into that, let me just state I am not a lawyer. Um, I am one of those guys that reads shit and knows shit, and I drink beer. Well, not really. I'm not really that much of a drinker. But anyway, who cares? Um, but fuck, where was I going with that? Brain fart. Um, you know, I do not give legal advice. I explain, or I will be talking from my perspective, how I see it, how I understand it, and you need to keep in mind that yes, I can be wrong. Even the experts and the people who should know can be wrong. So it is always good to double check. I learned years ago and developed the ideology of trust but verify. It's like, okay, I will trust you until I try to verify something and find out you're full of shit. Plain and simple. Um, if you rely on anything that I say uh, in these videos to take a course of action without further educating yourself, knowing where to find the information, or talking to a qualified Florida bar certified attorney, you're a dumbass. And I will have no pity if you do it wrong. So, first thing I'm going to do, Uh, Jesus Christ, I have scattered thoughts all the time. But anyway, Sheriff Grady Judd posted this video about 8 hours ago onto YouTube. And when I saw that Sheriff Grady Judd was making this post, I was excited. I wanted to hear what he had to say. Now, saying that, I'm going to put this out there. Sheriff Grady Judd and I do not see eye to eye on every issue. Um, I actually have pending litigation in Polk County Court at the Circuit Court, and I have pending litigation in federal court. Um, and I'm not going to talk about those. I'm going to let them work their way through the system. Am I required to be quiet about pending litigation? No. But I think it's a smart fucking idea and a good part of legal strategy. So, with all that being said, even though I do have suits against Grady Judd and the sheriff's office currently, as of what's today, September 12th, 2025, um, I'm also going to tell you that I am proud to live in Polk County, Florida. I am proud of Grady Judd and the job that he does as our sheriff. I am, in awe of the fact that I believe the job at the sheriff's office was the first job he got out of high school, and he's been doing it since then. Because I mean, like, longest I ever held a job was like 7 years, and that's only because Uber was a lot of fun to me. Everything else before that was like 2, 3 years, I'm out. Um, but I believe even Grady Judd can be wrong. He's human, just like the rest of us, and that's all that, and there's no shame in being wrong. But when you are wrong, you should openly admit it and set the record straight. That's the most important part. Openly admit it and set the record straight. So, anyway, I'm going to let the video play, and then we're going to discuss. Here is Florida Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, the man, the myth, the legend. And I just also want to say the sheriff's deputies, part of their uniform is a white Stetson hat. And that's just badass. You guys wore the white hats back in the westerns when he was growing up, I'm sure.
Hello everyone, Sheriff Grady Judd here. The First District Court of Appeal in the state of Florida has ruled that our law prohibiting open carry is not valid. That's right. So effective September 25th, if you open carry a firearm in Florida in a public place, it's okay. Here's some things that you need to remember. First and foremost, I'm an advocate of the Second Amendment. I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment. I'm a fan of the Second Amendment. So exercise your Second Amendment rights.
Criminals were going to take their criminal conduct into the neighborhoods. I would tell them, if you value your life, you probably shouldn't do that in Polk County, because the people of Polk County like guns. They have guns. I encourage them to own guns, and they're going to be in their homes tonight with their guns loaded. And if you try to break into their homes to steal, to set fires, I'm highly recommending they blow you back out of the house with their guns.
But it's important to remember a few things. Understand the law. For example, even with the ruling by the court where you can open carry firearms, as well as the law that allows you to carry firearms concealed, you can't do it in government buildings.
We're still investigating that.
You can't do it at colleges. You must understand the law. You need also to understand the law about stand your ground. I've seen well-meaning people end up in jail because they pulled a firearm or used a firearm in violation of the law, thinking they knew what they were talking about. So please, if you carry a firearm, be proficient. Go to the range. Know how to use it. Know how to safely carry it. And with open carry, you lose the surprise element.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Maybe a target of someone who wants to steal your firearm. So personally, I like carrying a firearm concealed, and you can in Florida. But I also understand that some people want to openly carry firearms, and they can. Now, when it comes to private businesses, for example, any private business, any private residence, you can be restricted from carrying your firearm openly or concealed there. So, here's what happens. If you go to a private business or to someone's residence and you're asked not to carry the firearm, you have to leave with it. If you stay there, then you're committing armed trespass, which is a felony. So please, we love our Second Amendment, but it does come with some restrictions of when and where and how. So learn the law. We're going to provide some state statute numbers for you to read and be aware of. God bless you. Take care.
All right, so that is the statement from Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd. In my opinion, hands down, the greatest sheriff that the United States has ever known, and possibly the world. No, I'll say the world. He is the best. Um, but I don't think he got part of this right. Now, most of that was absolutely spot on and on point. But I think that in his attempt to offer clarification, that he kind of missed the mark a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm pretty sure he might agree with me. He may not want to, but I don't care if he wants to or not, if he does or if he doesn't. I'm just putting it out there. Uh, the powers that be can make their decisions that they want to take action based on this information, and they can choose to not to. But one of the other things that I find kind of interesting, which I don't have it pulled up right now because unfortunately I had to reboot my computer because, um, you know, the I don't even know what you want to call them. The idiots at Microsoft or the idiots at Limp Dick Computers, Microsoft, Tiny Limp Dick Computers. Thank you. Um, you know, they apparently, and I've said this for years, and it's my opinion, that when they want to push an update, if you resist that update, they will make your computer quit working until you do it. And that happened to me earlier, and I had to fucking start everything, and I forgot to pull that email up. But I sent an email to Sheriff Grady Judd yesterday on 9/11/2025, basically asking him if he had any statements regarding this and, whether or not, he was going to make any public statements about it. I did not get a reply to that as far as I know, and I'm not going to look right now. I'll look later. Um, I don't expect him to reply. That man probably gets a shit ton of email. So whatever. This is the reply that I feel like I got, and it's okay. There's a lot of good points. Like if you are on somebody's private property, openly carrying or concealed carrying, and they ask you or tell you to leave, you got to leave. If they say, hey, could you secure that in your car or wherever you want to secure it, but I don't want you having it, carried, concealed, or open on my property. You got to honor that because it is straight up a felony in the state of Florida to trespass with a firearm. Um, so anyway, getting back to it, you can see right here on the screen, right above my head, this white part right here. This was posted, and I guess it was pinned to the top somehow. But this is the section of 790.06, license to carry concealed weapon or concealed firearm. This is the heart and soul, bread and butter of the Florida statute that has allowed me to carry concealed since 2008. And I'm showing you this because I want you to see that you can look by the print in the background that oh shit, did I even pull that up? Summon up, bitch, I did. Okay. I'm going to edit this part out. Goodness for cell phones and being able to pull shit up on the fly, because there's no way I'd remember all this shit. I remember a lot, but I don't remember all of it. So anyway, let's get into it. Um, Number one, any place of nuisance as defined in statute 823.05. Now, I'm not going to get specifically into that, but, place of nuisance is, fuck, like bars and, shit like that where there's usually, I guess, law enforcement issues with the patronage. But with each question, I want y'all to ask yourself, is that a government building? Okay, so a place of nuisance. Yes, government buildings can be full of annoying people, but does it qualify as a place of nuisance? No. Number two, any police, sheriff, or highway patrol station. That sounds reasonable. I mean, you know, I know from police academy training that one thing that was drilled into my head was everyone is trying to kill you. I didn't believe that, but I damn sure kept my head on a swivel. Um, any detention facility, prison, or jail. I mean, I don't know how much more clear that can be, but is that a government building? Yes, but are there specific government buildings identified in that part of the statute? Yes, they are. Any courthouse, any courthouse in the state of Florida, you cannot carry concealed. Um, you know, that's one of the reasons why they have metal detectors, people with wands that are, you know, crawling up your ass with a magnetometer trying to find out if you are hiding and packing. Excuse me. Um, so so far I don't see anything too unreasonable about it. Courthouses, well, a lot of people get frustrated in courthouses and they are prone to making a mistake and removing that from the element of any confrontation because if you think about it, uh, any time a person in any type of confrontation is armed, it's immediately an armed confrontation, whether the weapon is known to be there, whether it is not known to be there, or if you know it's not pulled out, displayed, used, or in a self-defense or a threatening manner. But 5 here says any courtroom except that nothing in this section precludes a judge from carrying a concealed weapon or firearm. It's like if you ever saw the video of that judge, I think that was in Vegas, where a person she was sentencing dove over the bench and just kind of pummeled her. You know, don't really not really a good idea because if the deputies don't get you that are in the courtroom, the bailiffs, the judge just might, and I guarantee you he will sleep like a baby that night. Um, where were we? We were on number 5. Um, so it doesn't preclude a judge from carrying a concealed weapon or concealed firearm or determining who will carry a concealed weapon or firearm in his or her courtroom. So, by that statute, conceivably, a judge could say, you know what, that dude can have a gun in my courtroom. And that is the judge's prerogative under the statute. Number 6, any polling place. Well, I guess their logic behind that is when people are going to vote, there is going to be a lot of people with a lot of differing opinions. And I think this statute went into effect in 1987. And it's like they're just trying to make sure that there are no heated political discussions or arguments or other things that, as I'm sure they couldn't foresee, fireballing into, or I should say snowballing into what we see politically on the political landscape today. Um, but they were kind of forward thinking on that. So, polling places, I mean, I don't have a problem with anybody who is in legal possession of a firearm carrying that damn thing anywhere. Um, because I can promise you, those of us who carry legally, um, you know, we're not out to do any harm to anybody. We're just there to make ourselves, our families, and even in the state of Florida, the people around us safe. So, that's just a matter of opinion on that one. And, guns don't scare me because one of my favorite interactions with the Polk County Sheriff's deputy when I got pulled over, this was before I had my concealed license and my gun was in my glove box. Uh, you know, he told me that he wanted my license and registration. I said, okay, I need to reach into the glove box. It is under my gun. And he says, that's fine. He says, don't reach for it or I'm going to shoot you in the back of the head. And I'm like, it's fair trade. I trust he's not going to shoot me because I'm not going to reach for it. Um, Number 7, any meeting of the governing body of a county, public school district, municipality like a city, or special district. I guess that would include the special district that pedophile Mouse has in the Orlando Osceola County area, Orange County, Osceola County, because they're on both counties. Um, and again, that's my speculation. I don't know for sure. There's ways to get clarification. I would highly suggest you use them. If you don't know how to get clarification, I can answer that. It's not giving you legal advice. It's telling you where to get legal advice. Um, Number 8, which I think would have been considered covered under number 7 of any meeting of the governing body, but I guess they wanted a line that specifically said any meeting of the legislature, which is the state legislature in Tallahassee at the Capitol building, um, or a committee thereof. Okay? So don't think you're going to carry into this Florida state capitol because it's not going to happen. Um, Number 9, any school, college, or secondary school facility or administration building, which means you can't take it to an elementary school or a secondary school, which in Florida we have middle schools and high schools, and you cannot take it into an administration building, which means you know definitely can't take it to any of those schools. But if you went to the Polk County School Board in Bartow for some type of business with a school board member, you cannot carry your gun. I think. Double check me. Um, any career center. I remember reading that and being like, "Fuck is a career center?" Pretty sure it's probably like the place that you go here in Lakeland where you're trying to find a job and they will try to help you. Um, Number 12, any portion of an establishment licensed to dispense alcoholic beverages for consumption on the premises. Which portion of the establishment is primarily devoted to such purposes? Which basically means, like, let's say you go into, I'll use a Red Lobster because I used to be a server at Red Lobster, and that was a damn funny one. Because let's face it, when you're this fucking ugly, if you want people to tip you, you got to make them feel good. And well, since I can't give them a kiss on the back of the neck or the side of the cheek and make them feel good, because that would creep anybody out, I made people laugh. But you go into a Red Lobster, you got the hostess area right at the front door, places for people to sit while they wait to go get a table. And what's right there near the entrance? Usually the bar. Okay, and the bar area has some tables specifically for the bar area that is handled by the bartenders. And, you can clearly see that this is a space that is marked off for a bar. There's no signs that saying, "Hey, it's a bar, motherfucker. Don't bring your gun in here." Well, You can sit at a table in Red Lobster and have a meal with your family, but you can't sit at the bar and do it. That's what that means. Um, Number 13, any college or university facility, unless the licensee is a registered student, employee, or faculty member of such college or university, and the weapon is a stun gun or non lethal electric weapon or device designed solely for defensive purposes, and the weapon does not fire a dart projectile. Okay, so I mean, it seems kind of straightforward. You can have a handheld taser, but you can't have one that fires prongs like the cops use if you're on campus. Um, and it's like if you're a registered student, you can have it concealed, or you can have it. I no, you have to have it concealed on campus, I believe, but I don't see where it specifically says that, so I don't know now. That is something that we'll have to get clarification. I might asked the Florida Attorney General. Um, but I don't really like the way that is worded. Okay, let's face it, tasers uh don't always work. They do not always work. I mean, my ex-wife had a taser that she used when we worked in security, and I used to get these terrible like spots on my legs, and that would like knot up and really start hurting, and nothing seemed to relieve it. Vicodin, Percocet, uh, you know being put on gabapentin wasn't helping it. Muscle relaxers didn't help it. So I got the bright idea, because let's face it, I have had some doozies in my lifetime. I got the bright idea to take that handheld taser, stick it to the spot that was knotted up, and just quickly, one like less than a second zap. That brought me some relief, because all the nerves around that area are just kind of like going from to So, I don't recommend you trying that at home. If you try to do anything that I mentioned that I've done that sounds stupid, it probably was stupid, and you would be stupid if you tried it. Um, Number 14, the inside of the passenger terminal and sterile area of any airport, provided that no person shall be prohibited from carrying a legal firearm into the terminal, which firearm is encased for the shipment for purposes of checking such firearm baggage. And I just realized I haven't been like annoyingly asking the question after every one, is this a government facility? Well, I mean, I don't think I need to do that. Hopefully you remember to look at each one of these as, is that a government building? Um, and if you didn't remember to follow along with the little thought experiment that I failed at, um, there's always rewind. Back this shit up and look again. Every one of them asked, is that a government building? Um, okay, where was I? The inside of a passenger terminal and sterile area of any airport, provided that no person shall be prohibited from carrying any legal firearm into the terminal, which firearm is encased for shipment for purposes of checking such firearm as baggage to be lawfully transported on any aircraft. Or, number 15, any place where the carrying of firearm, because it's like, when I leave the state of Florida, and sometimes I go to Tennessee to see my buddy, and when I go to Tennessee, I don't leave my First Amendment right at home. I don't leave my right to remain silent at home. I don't leave my right to have an attorney present before any questioning, or any of the other rights in the Bill of Rights or the constitutional amendments, which I think we got 26 now. Um, none of those rights get left home. Why the fuck do they get left home when I go out of state? Why do they get left home? Because I'm on government property. Now, I kind of don't know if I would want postal workers to do it. There was kind of an issue in the 90s, but it's been a while. Um, so let's break this down. Uh, it says the inside of the passenger terminal and sterile area of any airport. That is everything beyond TSA and where they run you through the scanner or whatever it is that you put your hands up like this, and supposedly there's a block to block your private parts, which I mean, I hope so because I know I'd be embarrassed. Um, it says, provided that no person shall be prohibited from carrying any legal firearm into the terminal, which firearm is encased for shipment for purposes of checking such firearm as baggage to be lawfully transported on any aircraft. Well, I've checked a firearm as, in my checked baggage. It's not a hard procedure, when you get to the desk, which is before you go to the metal detectors, x-rays, and looking at your hoo-ha machine. And, you just tell them, I need to declare a firearm. They give you a little card to fill out that gets taped to the case. You let them watch you put the case back into your baggage, and you zip up the baggage, and you have a specific kind of lock that is authorized to be used for this purpose by the TSA. I think it's because they all have a universal key and they can open it and look, which there's no reason for them to do it. The only problem I ever had is I went to go see my friend Deb. Hi, Deb. In Colorado. One of the best times of my life was those 4 days. And on the way back, uh, my firearm was in my firearm case, and it was in there unloaded with two magazines, which 17 round magazines each, because why the fuck not? And the lady at the Southwest desk told me that my bullets had to be out of the magazine and they couldn't be loose in the gun case. And I was like, no, you're wrong. And she wanted to make an issue of it. Well, you want to make issues of it? I am okay with issues because I've got them. And eventually they had like airport police over there, and they had I think it was somebody from the TSA, or I think it was just somebody that was lollygagging, wanting to see what was going on. But this was at the Southwest desk at the Denver airport, and this was probably about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And you know, the officer came up. She told them I was trying to check it, and I wouldn't take my bullets out of my magazine. He looked at me, and I said, "Yeah, I don't have to." And he says, "Hold on a minute," because apparently he didn't know the answer right off the top of his head. So he looked at whatever Denver statutes or not Denver, but Colorado statutes are, and looked at the federal law for checked baggage and whatever the hell he had to look up. And he come back and said, he's right. And I was like, cool. So I put it in my bag, let them watch me lock it, and they took my bag. No big deal. And it's like the other thing is that if you are in a situation with law enforcement of any kind, whether you think that they are arresting you correctly and legally, or whether you think and whether they are arresting you illegally, the first rule is you don't have to be cooperative. I taught this to my kids from elementary school, and I still preach it to them to this day. And it's, what do you say when a cop asks you a question? And they will immediately fire off with, um, I'm exercising my right to remain silent, and I am exercising my right to not answer questions without an attorney present. And that's all they say. And I even had one of my stepdaughters that had a DCF caseworker go talk to her at school because in Florida they'll go talk to them at school before they come talk to the parents. And you know, two of my other kids talked. I re-educated them, and I didn't get mad at them for it because I know a police officer there in full gear and a gun on his side looks kind of intimidating. I know when I was a kid, I was intimidated. Well, only when I was being questioned, and I didn't know my rights, which is obvious. Um, but anyway, uh, you know, that sweet girl, you know, she told that caseworker, I don't answer, or no, she said, I'm exercising my right to remain silent and I'm not answering questions without an attorney present. And that's all she would say to them. That's all she would repeat to them. And, because when the DCF worker came to my house, and she told me that she had already gone and seen the kids. Well, what my first rodeo. And I said, yeah, I know you did. I mean, because you do that before you come talk to us. And, you know, I said, so did the children tell you that I was beating them with a wet noodle and I made them stand on their head for punishment? Being sarcastic, of course. And she goes, no. But the one little girl who she's an adult now, she's a mama now, which I'm happy for her. Um, you know, she's all she would say to me is she's exercising her right to remain silent. She wasn't going to speak without an attorney present. And I'm like, good girl. So anyway, what I was getting at is that the main point that you want to take away from this is that whenever an officer is giving you a command, lawful command or unlawful command, unless it's putting your life in danger. But if they are giving you a command and you know it's not a lawful command, you don't argue with them and say that's not a lawful command. Because some of these fucktards out there will do fucktarded shit, and I've been through it. That's what one of my federal cases is about. It is why I am equipped even here in my own fucking bedroom with a body cam. And this is a Bob Love body cam, and no, they're not sponsoring me, but I will be using this, and I have used it already to collect content. Um, you know, do not resist. Argue all you want, because it's like they can tell you to shut up. Well, uh, one thing I was trained is you never issue somebody a command that is not a lawful command, and you never tell somebody to do something you can't make them do. Can they make me shut up? No, no, they can't. My mom has been trying since the day I was born. Her first words when I was born was, "Can't you make him shut up?" So, true story. Anyway, um, don't resist. The time to fight is not on the street because they will overwhelm you with force. With however many officers or deputies that they need to do it, they will overwhelm you with force. Um, and the thing is about an incident like that is it's easy to commit to memory, but memories are still faulty. You need to be consciously, uh, you know, documenting in your head what's going on because they don't give you a place to write it down when you get to the jail. I can tell you that. Um, and you know, fight it in court. You know, the last thing I was arrested for got dropped before arraignment. Yeah, I did an excruciating 4 days in jail, and I will talk about that more um, once the case progresses. And I can't wait to talk about it. It's going to be fun. Uh, but the main thing is that if there needs to be a retraction or a clarification, please do it. There's nothing wrong with doing it. There's nothing wrong with admitting you were wrong, correcting yourself, and moving on. Now, I would also suggest that if you relied on a subordinate to kind of put together your script, um, you might want to discipline them for being a dumbass. Just suggesting. You don't got to take my word for it. But anyway, this went on a lot longer than I thought it would. Between brain farts and rambling, who knows? But anyway, bottom line is that you go through each of those statutes, and yes, there are statutes like any meeting of the governing body of a county, public school district, municipality, or special district, and then any meeting of the legislature or a committee thereof. Okay, those are usually held inside a government building. Can you carry there? No, because they're explicitly named right here in Florida Statute 790.06, paragraph 12A. And so it explicitly says, no, you can't carry there. It's a secure area. No problem. I don't care. When I go to the courthouse, I don't care that I'm not carrying my gun. I do care that because I am reliant on the bus to get there, I do absolutely care that I have to be unarmed for the hour-long trip there and back. Um, you know, at the courthouse, no big deal. No big deal at all. There's plenty of deputies with guns that will hopefully take somebody down before they take anybody out. But it's a roll of the dice anywhere you go. And, you know, again, they will overwhelm them with overwhelming force. Um, but that's just the breakdown of it. I don't see anywhere in there that says that any government building is off limits to carry. Now, remember, even though legally you could walk into the Lake and Elect building with a openly carried holstered firearm, but I believe that even they have the right to tell you to leave. But that's kind of a gray area because you can't really be trespassed from the public area of government property. So that may be a question that I answer in a later date. We'll see what I find out. Okay, y'all didn't get to see that massive brain fart, but I'm new to this. I'm still getting used to the equipment, and as much as I try to pre-plan shit, I'm prone to forgetting stuff. Which is also another reason you should not take my word for it. Evaluate the information, make your own conclusions, but before you take any type of action, verify with a legal professional. And well, no, like that, verify with a bar certified lawyer in the state of Florida. But as you can see here, like up here it says 790.06 license to carry concealed weapon or concealed firearm. And if we go back to their Facebook page, it says 79.06 license to carry concealed weapon or concealed firearm. Now, what they did here is they went to the Florida chapter 790 and went to 790.06 and they just went down and they posted the section pertaining to prohibited places where you, like, even with a concealed weapons permit, couldn't carry lawfully in the state of Florida. And two things that I want to point out here. If you look at the statute and you look how far down we have to go to get to 790.06 paragraph 12A. It kind of, I'll just read it, okay? Because what we're going to do is we're going to go down all 15 of the places where it says a license issued under this section does not authorize any person to openly carry a handgun or